Hi
Mhm.
guys, it's Holly here at Faces. Welcome back to the Face It podcast. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Lottie from Evavas Training Academy and Tizana Cosmetics UK. Lottie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm so excited to
Um,
have a chat with you
yeah, me too. I'm really excited
because
to
we've
be
known
here.
each other
Thank
for
you.
quite some time. Obviously, we've spoken for the last couple of years, I would say, sort of on and off about different
We
things.
go way back.
We do.
Yeah, way back.
You're an OG basic user, that's for sure. And you know, and you know what? I love speaking to people like you because every time I speak to you, there's something new to tell me. Your business has grown, or there's
Mm,
something new that you've added, or more ideas. And I absolutely love it. I love how faces can grow with businesses like yours. I know that you're obviously
yeah, absolutely.
directing multiple businesses, which we'll go into. But do you want to just give us a little bit of background into how you got into the industry and how you've got to where you are now?
Yeah, so I was obviously an NHS member of staff, healthcare professional, end of life care for 13 years. I trained in aesthetics originally in 2018 and just got into it. It was more of a side hustle for me in the beginning, to be honest, because I enjoyed sort of making people feel good. I originally started doing it to sort of pay for my wedding at the time. So this was
Oh,
pre-COVID, right?
yeah.
I didn't start paying for my wedding because wedding was going to be well expensive. And I think I was a band, at the time I was a band six at St. George's. So the money wasn't great, but it was, good enough. And I was getting up at 4 o'clock every day, not getting in till 6 o'clock, having to do 2 hours commute on the train to work, do a full day, come home. And it was a lot. So but then when I'd come home, I'd be doing like extra lips, I'd be doing lashes, I'd be doing SPMU. So I've never been sort of scared of hard work.
Mhm.
And then in March 2021, I had my COVID jab. And I got really poorly afterwards. I got a disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome after the COVID jab, and literally had to sort of learn to walk again. So I
Oh
was
my
really, really
God.
sick after the yeah, so I was really poorly post the jab. Obviously, like people don't, they don't always put it to the jab, but obviously I had the jab and then I got really poorly. So then from there, I had to make some quite difficult choices, really. So I ended up leaving my NHS job in August 2021. And then I'd already sort of started touching upon the sort of training side of things. So I did my level 3 and 4 in education and training and sort of started sort of venturing into the world of training by started doing a bit of lash training here and there. And that's where Tizana Cosmetics UK was born. So Tizana Cosmetics is my baby. That's what it's been called since day one. And that's where the business, the sort of beauty business side of things started to grow. And then in the August, just after I left my job, I laughed because it was just like, wow, I found out I was pregnant with my baby. So I was like, right, I better do something now because obviously leaving the National Health Service and stuff, like, you lose your maternity pay, you lose your pension and everything else. And I thought to myself, right, well, it's not just me now I've got to think about.
Yeah.
It's this little baby. So
So now your
I
wedding
had
fund
Evelyn in
turned
May.
into a baby fund as well.
Yeah, well, the wedding actually didn't go ahead the way I wanted it to. We did get married, but because I got so poorly after the COVID jab, we didn't get our big dream day. We only had a little one. So, and obviously COVID cancelled it 5 times. It was like the
Yeah.
universe saying, you're not meant to have a princess wedding. You need to have a little
Yeah.
wedding. So I did
Yeah.
get married. Then Evelyn came along in May 2022. And then sort of the training really started to take off. I think I was one of the sort of first in the area training over. So when people were coming to start their training with me, we made sure they had their A&P and their qualifications. And then the aesthetics training lasted 6 months before they actually went ahead to start doing it by themselves.
Yeah.
So it really sort of picked up pace from there. And then I got to a point where I sort of got a bit of a gist that regulations were going to start happening. There was a lot of complications. There was a lot of coverage in the press. There was a lot of sort of good and bad things within the industry. Like a lot of the bad things were all being put out there, but the good things weren't.
Yeah.
So I sort of started to get a bit of a right. I need to start looking now at how I'm going to become a regulated training academy. So then Evavas was born. My stepdaughter's called Ava. My baby's called Evelyn. Take their names together, Evavas. So I decided to start and keep my cosmetic treatments different because, as you well know, Holly, within this industry, like there's a lot of places that will sort of charge very little for certain things, and I wanted to keep my cosmetic treatments very, very different from my academy. So Tisana Cosmetics went in its own entity, and that's when Evavas was born. From there, we have now become Qualify accredited. So we offer all of the Qualify levels 4 to 7 in aesthetic practice. I've got a team of people, I think it's like a team of 6 now I've got working for me full time in regards to the training and all that sort of stuff. And I've also got an amazing clinic manager. Shout out to Jenna. She's like the heartbeat of the whole company. And it's really, really, really taken off. Especially with the upcoming regulations and stuff like that, which I'm all here for. I love it. I'm here for it completely.
Yeah.
But I think that, it's definitely the training academies that need policing before anything else, in my opinion.
So thank you so much for that, Lottie. I was like, just loving your story. I think, there's been things that have happened within your career, like you've talked about, which have potentially set you back, but it seems like everything's kind of worked out as it was meant to. Definitely.
Yeah.
With regards to the academy side of things then, obviously your training is very different to the standard pathway course that you see everywhere on Instagram. You are offering a 6th month training block for all of your students.
Yeah.
How does that work for you in terms of actually running your business? So do you have like multiple students and everyone's at different points, or do you want to just tell us a bit about the structure, because that is really unique? I love the fact that you do that.
Yeah.
I think it's so necessary. But it is obviously
absolutely
standard pathway course that you see.
So I still am CPD accredited and Qualify accredited as well. With the P courses, the students actually have to complete a 5-week block of theory and pass an exam to be able to get onto the practical side of things as well. Because I'm an assessor and an IQA, and I'm currently nearly finished my level 5 education and training qualification as well. From that standpoint, all of the students have to reach a certain level before they can actually go into the injectable side of things. A lot of pathway courses that I see advertised, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's like 1 day theory, 1 day lips, 1 day tox, all this. I wanted to make sure that my students knew how to mix tox before they come, what tox does to the neuromuscular junction, for example, what tox should be used on who, prescribers, all that sort of stuff. I like to make sure that my students are armed with the knowledge before they even set foot into that clinic to do any treatments on anybody.
Yeah.
Because practicing on live models, again, is a risky business. You're doing it on live people who are ultimately paying to come and be a model for somebody who's never touched a needle before. So I just like to make sure that from my perspective, I'm taking on the right type of student. It's almost like a vetting process. So if they can pass their theory knowledge and they can answer those questions and know the basics of how to do things before they come into class, that's when I'm happy to start teaching them practically.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that. And I've not heard any other academy that I've spoken to do that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Normally,
students
walk into that academy knowing absolutely nothing. Like, I've worked in an academy myself, and if, in all honesty, I was quite shocked and disappointed with a lot of people who would walk through the door with the limited knowledge that they know, considering they're wanting to completely retrain into a new industry. Like, even just the basic stuff, you surely do a bit of research yourself or want to learn before you come in. Whereas some of the things people don't know when they step in, and even after they qualify, but that's a different story, is quite, it's extremely limited. So I think the way that you're doing things, and you have been doing things, is fantastic, because as well,
thank you,
you want to put your students in the best position that you possibly can, don't you, for their aesthetic.
And I think the issue that we've got with the not the industry as such, but obviously people will leave a pathway course after doing 5 days and getting 10 certificates and automatically, and this isn't anybody's fault, but have that grandiose, so they are now an expert in what they're doing. And really, at the end of the day, you know, if somebody was to go up to them and say, okay, so what does Botox actually do? A lot of them won't be able to answer that question because they don't actually know. That's the problem. Yeah. And when we're preparing for regulations and when we're preparing to do regulated qualifications, these are the sort of questions that you're expected to know with the experience that you have. And I think that not a lot of academies cover that part of the training. So that's what makes my training slightly different everywhere else. I focus more on the knowledge rather than them coming in and doing as many lips as possible, because it's that's going to get them through the regulation, not necessarily whether they can do amazing lips or not.
Yeah, that is so true. I think so many academies and students themselves just want to know how to do it. They want to know how to do it. What products they need to use, how to inject, and then it's actually the basic stuff, like you say. For example, what does Botox actually do to the body when you inject it? Which everyone should know. Everyone should know.
But I'd say 75% of people don't. That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
But I know that my students do. So when my students finish and they get that certificate and they go and get insurance and they go and practice, I know that they know what Botox and what certain types of filler do, monophasic, biphasic, cross-link. They all know the pharmacology of what each thing does. And that is why I think sort of the training needs to be policed that little bit more moving forward, because it's the knowledge. The knowledge is power at the end of the day. You know, you can go on and learn to do lips. Some of the best people I've ever seen do lips, you know, don't know what Tox does to the body, but their lips are unreal and their work is amazing. But it's that knowledge behind it that would make them incredible.
Yeah, do you know what? It's crazy, that, isn't it? Like the skill, the practical skill that so many people have is incredible. Like you say, you know, I can guarantee I can open Instagram now and see some amazing work by amazing practitioners. Yeah, it's like you say, it's just that behind knowledge, which is so important, even just for your own business and your own clients, let alone the regulation. How do you feel about the regulation then in terms of a training standpoint then? Because I mean, there's talks of level 7 being mandatory across the board, but then there's also talks that the level 7 might actually need to be fully reviewed and changed and that kind of thing.
From somebody who's done a level 7, like I've done my level 7. I've completed. I'm waiting on my certificate at the minute, but I have so far everything that I've needed to do. I've done. Yeah. So I personally don't think it'll be reviewed. I think the way that it is and what it asks you is what, as a level 7 practitioner, you should know. So in regard to sort of pharmacology, management of complications, making sure that, you know, you're safe, you know how to spot body dysmorphia, psychology of facial aesthetics, all those different things that are included within that level 7. It reflects on what the industry is going to be representing in 3 or 4 years' time, and that's safety for the patient. Regulations are a difficult one because the problem that we're having now is, and I mean, I've spoken to Maxine McCarthy, what an absolute boss she is. She's amazing. And the work that she has done for the sort of and I don't like saying non-medics because we're all aesthetic practitioners. It doesn't matter whether we come from a healthcare background or not. But what I'm saying is the JCCP, the BACN, and I'm saying this on a podcast, the safe face people are going to be making decisions on non-healthcare professional backgrounds behalf, and the non-medics within this industry need to have a voice. They need to actually pull their finger out and say, this is what I think should be happening within this industry. And what I've noticed is happening a lot is, and no disrespect here, but you know, I've got a lot of people who have been proactive and signed up with their levels 5 to 7 or 4 to 7 and gone, you know what, I'm going to do it because even if it doesn't become mandatory, you know, I've got the qualification. But there's a lot of people that go, actually, I'm not going to do this because it's going to cost money. Well, yeah, it is going to cost money, but realistically, it's going to protect your career in the future. Even if, so from a health and safety executive point of view, you know, we're all going to have licensing. So a health and safety executive is going to come into Academy A, who's got the level 7, and Academy B, who hasn't got the level 7 or has just got CPD qualifications or accreditations. And they're going to walk into Academy A and go, right, yeah, you've got your level 7, that's fine. Let me see this, this, and this. And they're going to get a license. They're going to make it much harder for Academy B to be able to gain that license, because they're going to want to see their autoclave policies, they're going to want to see their body spillage fluid policies, they're going to want to see their health and safety policies, because they need proof that they know as much as what Academy A does. And that's my sort of view on where I think it's going to go.
Yeah. You know what, that's a really good point, because obviously when you're becoming an off-qual and qualify centre, you go through that rigorous process, don't you? Like, I've seen it myself.
Oh my God. I
was part of it. It took first of all, it took about 6 months. Secondly, but it's the same process as licensing, isn't it? They want to see that you've got running water, that you've got wipeable floors and walls, that you are taking your consent, that you've got your sharp spins, that you've got everything under the sun that you can think of, which a clinic should have. Best believe they'll be checking it. So right, because level 7 centres will already have, obviously they'll have to go over it a little bit.
Already done it.
We've already got those things in place. So
like I say, it's already there. So we've already proved at that point that, you know, we have got every sort of policy that is required of the licensing in that place. So that's where, you know, people are saying that they are hanging on and waiting, because I understand, you know, it costs a lot of money to do these qualifications, but at the end of the day, you're not making an investment in the academy, you're making an investment in yourself. That's the way I look at it.
So true. Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's 2 mindsets, isn't there, that I'm seeing. I personally have the same mindset as you, in terms of, even if, you know, they change the qualification or whatever, you still doing your level 4, 5, 7 is still going to make you a better rounded practitioner, because you're going to have, regardless of regulation, regardless of licensing, if you really care and are passionate about what you do in this industry, and you want to keep progressing with your career in the aesthetics industry, you will find a way to do that, and it'll be regardless of licensing and regulation. Completely agree with
100%. When I went live with Maxine the other day, I actually said, like, there's no fast track to nursing, there's no fast track to biomedical science, there's no fast track to dentistry, and there's no fast track to any other healthcare profession in the industry, right? So why should there be a 5-day fast track to aesthetic practice when people are leaving that knowing how to do a set of lips, but they don't know, you know, what hyaluronidase can do. They don't know how to manage a complication, anaphylaxis, you know, what to look for. And I think that difference is it's a very in-depth industry. It's a talent, if you ask me, you know, to be able to do it properly, and it needs to be respected as such. And I think that's where the line's getting blurred, because so many people are sold a false narrative that you're going to start injecting lips and earning £10,000 a month, and that's not what happens. Like, I'm literally skint, like, no joke, like.
Exactly. No, but what do you think on the whole JCCP? Oh, you've got only medics can do these treatments, and non-medics can do these treatments. Obviously, you've come from a medical background, so what are your genuine thoughts on that?
My opinion on this is, and I'm going to be quite frank, because that's why I'm here. They are charities, okay? They are charities, okay? They are not registered professional bodies. They are charities, okay? They are non-profit organizations, and, you know, they are run by people within the medical industry, okay? So non-profit organizations obviously do make some kind of money there. You know, their CEOs or whatever they are will make some kind of money from that. It will be much more profitable for them if it was to be made medic only. But I don't believe that, I can't believe I'm saying this on a podcast, but I don't believe that their intentions are sincere, in my opinion. I don't believe that the intentions of that are sincere. And I believe that, I mean, I've watched a couple, I'm not going to mention anybody, but I've watched a couple of podcasts for certain associations, and some of the stuff that they say about non-medical practitioners and, you know, people who are non-healthcare background, because really the definition of medic means doctor or dentist. It doesn't actually mean nurse or anything else. It means doctor or dentist. So we want to get sort of into the nitty-gritty of that, let's be honest, okay, you can't join the Safe Face register if you're a pharmacist. You have to be a prescribing pharmacist. So even if you're a pharmacist and done that 6 years at university, you can't join that register unless you can prescribe. So the way that I look at it is that they're entitled to an opinion. However, these people are going to be making decisions for non-healthcare professional background practitioners without, and ultimately when that decision's made, there's nothing that anybody can do. So that's why I really, really believe that it's so important to back the charity that Maxine set up, because it's going to give the non-healthcare professionals a voice and actually say, you know what, we don't agree with this. We've worked really hard to get to this point. We're agreeing that we need qualifications. That's absolutely true. But we will work at that and we will do that. And they need to have that voice. The ACPB is a charity just like the JCCP and Safe Face. That's the way that it is. Ultimately, though, like I say, the JCCP are always going to back the medics. And realistically, the majority of people that I've trained over the years, some of the most incredibly knowledgeable people I have met have all been from a non-healthcare background, all of them. And, you know, I am a massive advocate and I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that, you know, we all have a safe space to talk about this, that we all have a safe place to talk about whether we're worried. Because again, you know, I know that this is going to affect people's mental health because this is people's livelihoods. And it's so important to have that space and so important to have that voice. So the JCCP and the Safe Face campaign and stuff like that, I think the intentions were pure, but I think it's really, really turned into a witch hunt now. And I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think people forget, like you just said, the JCCP are a charity. I think people have this like perception that the JCCP are like a regulatory body. They're not.
Nope.
They're not.
Nope. They're a charity. They're a charity. And if you look at you know, I watched the podcast with that group of ladies the other day, absolutely mint it was. And you look at if you look at what people are taking home and how much money people are making, it's on a different scale. You know, people need to wake up and realise that, you know, the aesthetics industry is worth so much money, okay? But it's worth a lot more money to them just doing medics, just doing it. So I really do think that the people who are non-healthcare background need to have that voice, and the only way for that is by joining the ACPB.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Lottie. And I think that's I think what you're saying will be quite reassuring to a lot of non-medical practitioners, because you're coming from a medical background, and I think as well there are a lot of medical professionals who have the same thoughts that you do, but they're probably scared to say anything, or they just think, you know what, I'm best just keeping quiet because, you know, I've got that background, but they don't necessarily agree with it. So I think it's really a great thing that you're speaking up and on behalf of those people. And like you say, the word non-medic, it just medical professionals in one pile. And then the thing next to that is people doing treatments in their kitchen using unlicensed toxins. That's how they see it. They don't see all of these incredible people that I've had on my podcast and spoken to who have multiple clinics. They you know, put their client safety at first, put their client safety first, been in the industry for years and years. You know, they don't see any of that, or, you know, perhaps they do, but they're just not wanting to acknowledge that. And it is a form of discrimination, 100%.
Absolutely. But I do see the side that where people are coming from, where people are setting up a training academy 6 months after being, you know, qualified in aesthetic procedures. It's happening around here where I am in a very close vicinity, you know, 10 qualifications for £1,000. And it's like, you've been doing aesthetics for 6 months. It's just not possible. It's not possible. So again, at the same time, I do believe it's the training that's going to be under scrutiny much more than the treatments in the offset, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to just give us a bit of insight into the ALS Clinical Oversight Service, Lottie? Because Lottie, as well as the two businesses she has, she's also a director of another business, which again, a lot of you guys will hopefully benefit from. So tell us a little bit about that.
So this was set up, I set this up a week before I had my baby, because I was going off on maternity leave and I just had a load of students finish their training, and I thought, oh my God, how am I meant to support them with a baby attached to me? So I come up with an idea. I've got three other ladies involved, called Teresa, Alice and Syra. We're all healthcare professionals and we all come from a healthcare background. And what we've done is I set up a 24-hour emergency complication service that has literally gone through the roof since it opened. So we vow to answer the question within 2 minutes. Wow. So when somebody messages us on that service, we answer that question within 2 minutes. One of us is on call 24 hours a day. We've all got BNFs, we've all, know our stuff about medication, etc. So when I set that service up, it was originally just for my first lot of students, and then I thought to myself, you know what, this is a really invaluable service that people can use. So it's grown so much, and I've got so many people on there. And recently I've actually purchased a ultrasound machine. So that's going to be coming in the next few weeks because it's from America. So I've purchased one of those to be able to run sort of diagnostics of whether someone has actually got an occlusion or a compression. And from there, it's just grown like crazy. It's just gone mad because it's something that was a niche in the market. I saw clinical oversight coming 2 years ago. I said, clinical oversight is going to be a thing for sport practitioners, to have somebody named to say, actually, this is the person who can support me should something go wrong. And that's what it is. So it's a subscription service where you subscribe to the service and you have named clinical oversight, and you also have access to literally 24-hour a day complications. So one of us is on call 24 hours a day.
Just out of interest, with regards to the clinical oversight, is the person who subscribes, so the member, are they assigned to one of you ladies individually, or is it is it the company which is
so it's the service that is classed as a clinical oversight. So our service is actually named clinical oversight. So we've got Teresa, who's the prescriber as well, so we've got access to all of that. We've also got clinical oversight, so I've got access to 2 neurologists I used to work with. So if we need anything else that's more complicated, we've got access to that as well.
That's really good to know, actually. Because that you're always going to, not always, but sometimes you're going to need that second opinion. Obviously you guys are healthcare professionals.
100%.
You are obviously advanced aesthetic practitioners as well, but just having that backup as well is only going to make that practitioner and that client feel even more secure. So
for example, like if you do a consultation with someone and they're on a medication, okay, so say, for example, somebody's taking a medication that's for blood pressure. Not all of those are contraindicated, okay? But if one of our users was to message us and say, can this person take this? This person's on this medication, can we treat? One of us would pick that message up who's on call, look at the BNF, make sure that, and we'd be like, yes or no within that 2-minute threshold.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know about that they can actually check for contraindications online. Obviously, unless you're a healthcare professional, because it's something that you guys are introduced to when you're doing your studying. But yeah, that is amazing. So just in case anyone is interested, how can they register and sign up to?
So all they need to do is send me a message via the Evavas Medical Aesthetics and Training Instagram page. And what we would do is we'd send you out a mandate, which is like a subscription. Yeah. So the subscription is £35 per month, but that does give you access 24 hours a day, and literally we vow to answer that question within 2 minutes of you sending that message. And when we say 24 hours, we mean 24 hours. So it's not just like it's we turn our phone off at night. That doesn't happen. One of us is on call 24 hours a day. We also have, for people who need it, that ultrasound service, and also they have unlimited access to that clinician who is on call for anything throughout the day or night.
Amazing. That's fantastic. So guys, just another thing to consider, just to put your mind at rest, to, you know, show your clients that you really care about their safety. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So everybody should join if they haven't already. I feel like we should do a part 2 of this because we're running out of time, but I feel like there's loads that I want to talk about with you. So I feel like we should do a part 2. But Lottie, you've got 3 minutes. What do you love about Faces and how has it helped your business?
Oh my God. So Faces, I recommend to all my students, literally. And what I love about it is it's there ready made. It's got the questions that you need to be asking your clients on there. So your face-to-face consultation, you have got the questions there. Not only that, you've got access to the pharmacies, you know, you can connect with a local prescriber. It's just amazing. And not only that as well, I love that you can track what you're earning. Like, as a clinic owner who loves like nothing more than what you're earning, like it really sort of pushes me on to be like, oh amazing, I'm going to do better next week than what I did last week. And as well, you get your CPD points for all of your CPD points for your consent forms, which again I think is going to be part of the regulations, that you're going to need to do a certain amount of CPD per year. And you know, that proves that you're doing your CPD because you're doing your treatments. And I couldn't do without it, to be honest. I use it all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, as any healthcare professional, you have to do CPD at least, you know, a certain amount per year. You have to do it. So, you know, I do think that that's going to be part of the licensing scheme, that you can prove that and it's there. It's on your phone. You can carry it everywhere with your, you know, you've got everything stored in one place.
Amazing.
I love it.
Good. Do you use your affiliate link for your students?
I do. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Good.
I send it all to my students. Yeah. The affiliate link all the time. I've got quite a bit of money in there now, actually.
Yeah, you know what? And that's just from recommending that you would have done anyway. So yeah, any training academy settings, make money from Faces, send your link to your students. Absolutely. And you'll get 1% back. Lottie, 100%. Thank you so much for coming on. We've got a minute and a half. So what are your plans for the next 12 months? Have you got anything big coming up?
Oh my God, I've got so many plans. So I've just signed a lease on a 7-room building on the same street that I'm on at the minute, just up the road. So I've just signed a lease for that to grow the academy. So I'm going to have a clinic and academy in the same place. I'm also taking over quite a big salon in the area that I'm at now. And really, I want to take my training like nationwide, ideally. Ideally want to take it nationwide, and that will happen because I'm determined enough to achieve that. But I think that, you know, really pushing and campaigning for non-medics is going to be my goal for the next 12 months, because I think they're going to need some help.
Amazing.